Happy birthday.
Death Day, rated PG-13.
I love the little contrast in the beginning there, you know, the title going Happy Death Day, and then the next scene is literally Happy Birthday. Like, it's like full circle, kind of, which, yeah, that's kind of pretty much the story here of this film. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the 5 films that make up October 13th, 2017, Jason's Day, even though Jason Voorhees is nowhere to be found. He's probably off killing kids in the woods, but there's no cameras around to make a movie off of him, but, I don't know why I keep making that joke. It might be the first time I've ever made it, but how can I not when it's October the 13th, of Friday the 13th day, but anyway, I'm getting off topic here. Happy Death Day, the latest film from Blumhouse. This time it has a story that is essentially Groundhog Day meets a horror film, pretty much, where you have a college student played by Jessica Rothe from La La Land, who is murdered on the night of her birthday, but begins to relive the same day over and over again, at which point she has to set out to find the killer and stop her death. And, yeah, it's literally Groundhog Day meets a slasher film, but, you know, Groundhog Day is a great movie, and there's always a way you can make this movie work by putting a new edge to it and a new hook to it, and this movie definitely does that and then some. I mean, this movie is a lot of fun, man. I mean, it plays with the concept of time travel, of time looping pretty much, and, you know, her trying to figure out who the killer is, which, I mean, really, if you watch the trailers early on, you can pretty much see early on that something is off from the very beginning with the person that ends up being the killer in this, but, I mean, but then again, it's the fun factor of the movie. The fun factor of the film is just watching this character, Tree Gelman, who is basically the main focus of the movie, you know, trying to figure out who's trying to kill her before the killer comes and gets her, and like it's like Edge of Tomorrow, pretty much, where, you know, every day you got to figure out how to keep moving forward and all that, and the movie does a very good job of handling that. And director Christopher Landon, whose last movie he did was the infamous Paranormal, no, I thought it was Paranormal Activity in the Markers, but he did Scott's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, which is a really good underrated film. And he has been a good director overall. He made the sequel, and then he made Freaky, which there was a point where there was going to be a crossover with Happy Death Day and Freaky. If you saw Freaky, you know what I'm talking about, but they never did it overall, which is a shame, because I feel like that could have been a really good movie there. And he just did Drop, which is a really good film, too. I just saw that recently. Yeah, Happy Death Day overall is a really fun movie overall. It plays with the convictions of a time travel storyline while mixing it with a lot of Groundhog Day elements and having a character that you do want to get behind and want to see her succeed overall, because she is very likable and she has a lot of charisma and humor to her. Like I do like a lot of this movie overall. I think it's a very fun film overall, very creative, very enjoyable, and made for a pretty good sequel that came out a couple years later. Not even a couple years later, about 15 months after the original film did. Yeah, they rushed that sequel along as soon as this movie made a ton of money, but and again, it's a small budgeted movie, so they were probably going to do that regardless. So anyway, that is Happy Death Day. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Jackie Chan as the Foreigner.
This Friday, Jackie Chan is the Foreigner, rated R.
I mean, it's really just John Wick, except replace Keanu Reeves with Jackie Chan, pretty much. It's kind of like that movie overall, but, sort of. But it follows a London-based Chinese Nung restaurateur and ex-soldier who seeks vengeance for the death of his daughter. So it is kind of like John Wick, except replace the dog with the daughter of this guy. But you see Pierce Brosnan in there. Charlie Murphy from Chappelle Show's in here for some reason. But it's directed by Martin Campbell, who, of course, gave us Casino Royale, and you know, it's a very formulaic movie overall. It's the type of film that you look at and you go like, yeah, I can kind of see where this is going overall. But considering that this guy's last film he directed was Green Lantern, and he took all this time to actually wait and see if he could find a movie that can actually get him back into his relevancy, this one wasn't that bad overall. It's cool to see Jackie Chan doing what he does so well. And, you know, it's a movie where it works because you have two really good actors, you know, not just Jackie Chan, but Pierce Brosnan playing against type, roles that don't usually fit them in general here, and it really does work in their favor overall. The action sequences are a lot of fun to watch. The story, yeah, it's been there, done that before, but like I said, you can usually get away with it if you're giving something new and unique to the table here, and I think this movie does that and then some, with the performances by Chan and Bronson, and also the really solid action overall. It's a good movie. Not a great film overall, but, hey, proves that STX Entertainment is a broken clock that's right every once in a while. Sometimes they do make a good movie, like a Hardcore Henry, or this film in particular. It's fine for what it is. It's good. So take that for what you will. So let's go ahead now and move into our next movie, which is Chadwick Boseman starring as Thurgood Marshall. You don't know who Thurgood Marshall is? Let the stars of the movie tell you.
First African-American Supreme Court Justice.
See Marshall in theaters on October 13th.
Okay, Stalin wrong. Rated PG-13.
And then he was replaced by Clarence Thomas, and it was all downhill from there. But and also, I can't wait to see this cinematic universe coming together where all of Chadwick Boseman's historical characters are going to meet in one single movie, man. I can't wait to see, Jackie Robinson meeting up with James Brown, and then meeting up with Thurgood Marshall, and some reason Black Panther is involved in this, for some reason. I don't know why, but Black Panther's a big name, so they said, fuck it, let's put him in there. I mean, it's really amazing that Chadwick Boseman was able to grab all these big historical roles here. And, like I said, man, he usually knocked it out of the park very well. Even though this might be the lesser... Actually, no, I think Get On Up is the lesser of the three films overall. This is still a really good movie overall. So Chadwick Boseman is Thurgood Marshall, the first African-American Supreme Court justice who focuses on one of the first cases of his career, the state of Connecticut versus Joseph Spell. And you have a cast that includes Josh Gad, Kate Hudson, Dan Stevens, Sterling K. Brown, and James Cromwell among the cast here. It's directed by Reginald Hudlin, who of course gave us House Party, and hasn't really done a whole lot in a long time. I think the last movie he directed was a BET documentary about Richard Pryor, but even then, the last things he made were stuff were lackluster stuff that's kind of devoid of his talents, like The Ladies' Man and Serving Sarah. So it has been a long time since we've seen him do anything of noteworthiness here, and what a way to come back and do a movie that actually is very well done overall, and it mostly works because the performances are all really good, and you do get invested in everything that goes on here, and you're hooked by Thurgood Marshall in general because he's played by a great actor who very rarely ever misses, even in bad movies. He's not doing anything. He could really do no wrong here. He is very good here. He definitely delivers on everything you can ask for and then some. It's a great movie, man. It's a really good film overall that works to show that this guy was really something special, and he was on his way to becoming something truly great, but unfortunately life has a funny way of just working sometimes, and then, not but 3 years later, he's gone. It just really sucks overall, but, hey, we still miss him every day, and, this was before, of course, the thing that would launch him, his legacy overall came out, not but 6 months, October, November, December, 5 months later, I should say. 5 months later, he's in the biggest movie of the year in Black Panther, but we'll save that for a couple months' time. But overall, I liked it. Marshall's pretty good. Definitely not as good as 42, but certainly better than Get On Up is. So there you go. That's Marshall. So let's go ahead and take a look at another historical drama this weekend. Hey, the Wonder Woman craze is the norm. So here's the story of the creator of Wonder Woman, Professor Marsden and the Wonder Women.
The both of you.
And never boring.
Professor Marston and the Wonder Women, October 13th in select theaters.
As good as this movie is, it's probably not helping your case overall by throwing in a pointless love relationship between the two women that are inspiring Wonder Woman. I mean, literally, the people who played the family members literally looked at this and said, that did not happen in this movie whatsoever. Not even kidding. Like, the granddaughter, Christine Marsden, criticized the film, saying that Elizabeth and Olive were lovers, were purely fictional, and claiming that she was not offended by the notion and technically could not swear that they had no such relationship. She explained that she had a close personal confidant of her grandmother, so she could say that 99.99% certainty that they did not. But, which, yeah, I would tend to agree with that, but then again, this is the same director that also made Debs, which, I mean, literally has a lesbian couple in that movie here, so I wouldn't be surprised if they threw that in there to get the men to be involved in this overall. But this is, of course, the story about Professor William Morton Marsden, played by Luke Evans, who creates the fictional character Wonder Woman, and it focuses on, how he created her through his wife, his legal wife, and the love interest of the Marstons, Olive Byrne, played by Bella Heathcote. And yeah, it's a very interesting story overall, and yeah, it's hard not to look at this and think, you guys made this movie because you knew the Wonder Woman movie was coming out, but it's still a fascinating story overall, and all the performances in this movie really do work overall. Luke Evans is really good here, Rebecca Hall and Bella Heathcote are really good here as well, and it does show a good idea it gives you a good idea of how this character came to be overall, and for the most part, I think it did its job very well enough. I don't think it's one of those great movies overall, but it's definitely a movie that you could tell the people who were making it had their hearts and souls in the right place for it, and there is a lot of intriguing ideas out of it that do come out of the film. Really not much more I can really add to it, except it's a pretty good underrated little film. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It's definitely worth a watch. So, yeah, we have a movie that's capitalizing on the success of Wonder Woman. Meanwhile, there's a Christopher Robin movie made at Disney coming out next year. And so 20th Century Fox basically said, oh yeah, Disney, we'll beat you to it because we have our Christopher Robin story about the creation of Winnie the Pooh. This is goodbye, Christopher Robin, which is what we'd like to say to you in August. But here's goodbye, Christopher Robin.
Then Winnie the Pooh came along, and happiness came out.
Goodbye, Christopher Robin. Rated PG in select theaters October 13th.
So yeah, it's kind of amazing to think that in less than 1 year's time, this movie would not only be pushed off to the side for Christopher Robin, but that the fact that Fox Searchlight would eventually be in the home of Disney at that point. But as I said before, this is the story about the creation of Winnie the Pooh from A.A. Milne, played by Domhnall Gleeson, and you have his wife Margot Robbie and also Kelly MacDonald in here, and you know he creates a story based off the character, based off this bear that this little kid had, his son Christopher. And it's directed by Simon Curtis. Simon Curtis is, of course, the man who gave us, he gave us My Week with Marilyn. He also did David Copperfield, and did a lot of work for Downton Abbey overall. And it's got a good cast overall, but really, when you look at this movie, it really does struggle to kind of find the balance between trying to tell the story of Christopher, of how Winnie the Pooh came to be, and also trying to feel like it doesn't really have a direction of what it wants to be. Does it want to be like a wartime movie or a coming-of-age, childhood, whimsical storyline here? It tries to mesh both together and also kind of fail, and both kind of fail miserably at it. The one thing I'll give Christopher Robin credit to Disney film is that they did the wartime stuff early on in the movie. Like in the opening credits of the film, you see Ewan McGregor's Christopher Robin character going to war, and that's usually the last time they mention it overall. They make the movie solely about the characters overall, and I think this film trying to do both at the same time really hurts the film in the long run here. Not to say the performances are bad in here, they're all very good. I mean, Margot Robbie and Domhnall Gleeson usually will never turn out a bad performance again, but you also have Kelly MacDonald doing a very good job here. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is also in the film. Who else is in here that I might be familiar with? I thought most of everybody here did their parts very well here, and yeah, it's a movie that is just your typical biopic overall, but it never really, it can't find the true balance of what kind of a film it wants to be. Does it want to focus on the wartime aspects of A.A. Milne's life, or does it want to focus on a childlike storyline here? And it can't really find that meshing together overall. So it's not a bad movie, it's just a largely forgettable movie to say the least, so take that for what you will. So that's my thoughts on Goodbye, Christopher Robin. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, we'll head into the weekend, not even the weekend before Halloween, to October 20th, but we do have a Halloween movie, because the first Medea Halloween was such a success, Lionsgate said, speed this shit up and get another one out for next Halloween, and thus, Boo 2, a Medea Halloween comes out. And if that wasn't enough for you, we have not Roland Emmerich directing this movie, although he's the producer, and his partner, Dean Devlin, is the director of this. Geostorm, a disaster movie of all kinds. And, yeah, disaster is probably not the way they wanted this movie to end up being, but it was a disaster for a number of different reasons. But we have Miles Teller in one of two big Oscar-contending movies of the year. At least I think he's in this one here. Let me check for a second. Yeah, he is in this one with Josh Brolin and Jeff Bridges. He actually has a couple movies this particular year where he's trying to be in a film that's an Oscar contender, and neither one of them really took off. But this is directed by the same guy that did Top Gun Maverick, Only the Brave. We'll take a look at also one of the more infamous movies of the weekend, based off of the Joe Nesbo book, The Snowman, with Michael Fassbender and Rebecca Ferguson, and yeah, it's a movie that is bad for reasons that you probably already know, if you already know what the idea of this movie was. We also have, maybe not that one. I haven't seen that one in particular. So is that really it? No, there's a couple more here. Silent Voice, the movie, which is an anime film, and we have The Killing of a Sacred Deer, the latest film from A24. Why did I say it like that? A24, like, cause I make A24, like, I don't know, I'm just kind of rambling off right now, but we'll take a look at those movies. So, Boo 2, A Medea Halloween, Geostorm, Only the Brave, The Snowman, Silent Voice, the movie, and The Killing of a Sacred Deer. We'll take a look at those 6 tomorrow on the show. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.